everyone, and welcome back. This is episode 6 of the Transplanted Country Girl. My name is Jenna. I'm coming to you from upstate New York. Today is May 14th, and we finally have some decent weather. It's about 55 degrees with sun, some clouds today. It was snowing last weekend, the Saturday right before Mother's Day. So we are happy if it's 55 degrees because at least there isn't snow on the ground in May. That isn't typical for us, but that just seems to be what happened this year. And so everything else is weird. This might as well be too. I'm podcasting right now during the pandemic. That's how this whole thing started. I guess I just had some extra time and I've wanted to do this for a while. So no time like the present. So here I am podcasting today. Let's see. We just finished watching Handmaid's Tale. Loved it. I absolutely loved it. I highly recommend it. If you have Hulu, that's what we watched it on. It was really, really good. I just find the show fascinating. I can't wait to see what the women are going to do to rebel. And we did make it through all 3 seasons, so I know how it has ended at this point. The next season is supposed to come out in the fall, so I'm really looking forward to that. And if you haven't gotten a chance to watch that, I definitely recommend it. I also finished the season finale of Outlander. And if you are an Outlander fan and haven't watched it yet, be sure to go back and look because Claire's sweater at the end was beautiful. I went right to the message board and I was on Ravelry and I'm like, does anybody know the pattern for the sweater? Which of course I knew that wouldn't be out, but hopefully it will be at some point because it was a beautiful blue sweater and it was very textured and fitted and it had pockets on the front. It was long and there were buttons. So pretty. If you haven't looked, go ahead and go back and look. I tried to screenshot it, but I guess that the phone doesn't let you do that if you're watching something. I don't know. It wouldn't let me screenshot it to show you. I wanted to keep it for myself so I wouldn't forget it and it wouldn't work. So that's that. I am wearing a finished object today. And I do want to talk about it for a little bit. This is my Portage cardigan. It took me 2 weeks to make it. I started it, if I look at the calendar, I'm not sure. It took me 2 weeks to make it. It was a really, really fun knit. I loved it. I loved it for most of it. The pattern was really easy to remember. I don't use the cable needle. I do the strategy where you do it without the cable needle. Of course, I was going to film that. And by the time I remembered to film it, I was done with all the texture, which I will turn around and show you in a minute. But the one thing I really want to talk about with this sweater was my yarn. I got the yarn from Madeline Tosh and I bought 4 skeins to start. The reason I did this was, here's the Portage. Sorry. It's by Melissa Schwashewary. I say it wrong every time. The reason that I only bought 4 skeins to start was I really looked at a lot of the notes in Ravelry and people that were making my size had used different brands of yarn, but they were using all different amounts of yarn. And although it said that I should be using 8 skeins, a lot of people were saying that they use 6 skeins or they use 7 skeins. And I didn't want to get all of that yarn if I was going to have just 1 or 2 skeins left over. So I bought some and then I purchased more after. I have never ever had a problem doing this and I do it all the time and I'm not somebody who alternates skeins. That ruins the whole knitting experience for me. I have no interest in that. I want my item to look handmade. It doesn't bother me that it looks handmade. I think that makes it 1,000 times better. Everybody that knows me knows that I knit anyway, so I'm sure they assume that I knit whatever garment I'm wearing if it looks knit anyway. But this time, it sort of backfired on me, and I ordered 4 new skeins, and they were so vastly different that it was just, I immediately called Yarn Bestie and was like, oh my gosh, they don't match. And then I decided to go ahead and knit with the darker skeins anyway, because, okay, so this is going to sound dumb, but in watching The Handmaid's Tale, I have had all these thoughts going through my head while I'm watching it. And I keep thinking to myself, why did the women let this happen? And why didn't the women rebel against the men and against the whole idea? And it sort of has come to me that the women in power are the ones who decide for everybody else, even in today's standards, which The Handmaid's Tale is basically set in today, so it's really no different. But it's just given me a revelation. Like I had this moment where we were watching it and it just came to me, and all I can think of is how we as women really let the women in power decide how we're supposed to look and what we're supposed to look like and what size we should be and how our clothing should look and what the fashion is and how perfect our houses should be and all the Instagram perfection and all of these things. And this has really been resonating with me lately about this idea of everything needs to be perfect, and it is driving me crazy. I don't know where this has come from. I mean, I guess it has come from the people in power, but this idea that everything we do has to be perfect. We have to look perfect. Our house has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. And it bothers me. I have very curly hair to begin with. And for years and years, I would straighten my hair. And my father would get so mad at me, and he would always say, "Stop straightening your hair." And I was like, "Dad, this is how everybody wears their hair." And then one day I'm like, why do I want to look like everybody else? It doesn't even make sense. Why do I want to be like everybody else? So now I sort of refuse to wear my hair straight because I don't want to look like everybody else. So in getting to the point of my sweater, I started knitting it, and you can see that the shawl collar is darker than the body of the sweater. It's also darker than the back of the sweater, which is absolutely beautiful. Here is the pattern, and you can definitely see like some striping and pooling, but it's the arms where you notice it the most. Obviously, you can see that I changed skeins here and I changed skeins here. You can't see it as much on this sleeve as you can on this sleeve. It just happened to be that this was really light and this was super dark. And at first it really, really bothered me. Here are my pockets, by the way, with my shawl collar. Here's the pockets. And my pockets are darker too, which I think it looks really cool. At first, the sleeves really, really bothered me, and I kept thinking maybe I'll order more yarn or rip it out and try something else, or maybe I'll rip the whole thing out and get 8 new skeins. I couldn't come up with what I wanted to do, and it really kept bothering me. And then all of a sudden, I'm watching Handmaid's Tale, and it's just, this whole thing happened in my head, and I'm thinking, why does everything have to be perfect? Why can't the sweater just be what it is? So I decided to leave it the way that it is, and it's going to be a reminder to me that this is a garment that I made that I absolutely love. I love the pattern. The yarn is so, so soft and so warm. Like I said, it's Madeline Tosh, it's DK, and I love it so much. And I'm just not going to live in this world where I'm going to conform to what everybody else says that things need to be. I'm just not going to do it anymore. So this sweater is going to be a reminder of that, and I hope that other people follow suit, which I guess would be conforming to the norm. But I hope that we all decide as a collective women that we are not going to do this thing that we all have to be a size 4, and we all have to have straight hair with curls that are put in with a curling iron, and we all have to look exactly the same, and our clothes all have to look uniform, and everything has to be so put together and perfect. It's just, I'm over it, and I don't want to do this anymore. So I decided not to do that with the sweater. And if there is a Rhinebeck, it will be my Rhinebeck sweater, and I'm very excited about that. And if there isn't, then it'll still be one of my very favorite sweaters. And when you feel the pattern, it's so squishy and soft. I just want to make 100 things in that honeycomb pattern. So I'm really happy with that, and I'm really excited. This was all that I had left of my glazed pecan. She's kind of getting a little deformed here. And I've shown you this before, but this is my Waverly from Neighborhood Fiber Company. And this is a worsted, this is a DK, but I love these two colors together. I have my Cowboys and Angels shawl in this color, and I'm definitely gonna wear them together. I would love to make a fade of some sort with this yarn. So if anybody knows if there's a fade, I mean with these yarn colors, if anybody knows of a fade that looks like this, that's sold anywhere and has speckled yarn that would go in the middle, that would be great. I would love to know, because I'm looking for something like it. So that's what I have with that. And that's that for the moment. The next thing I'm going to be working on, I found these, I tried to print it in color, but my printer is all messed up. So I have the Toolbox mitts. They are made by Debbie Stone and Marcy Vandale. I can pull up a picture really quick, because I really do. I'm just going to make these. They're They look like this. And they are made in fingering weight yarn. They're just mitts, no fingers, no thumbs or anything. And I just need a quick knit, and I'll get to why in a second. But what I decided to do was use the leftover yarn from my Find Your Fade. And you can really use as many colors as you want. They recommend 6, but you can do 5. And I've added some different yarn in, and I'm not using all my yarn. But my Find Your Fade, which I'll show you in a minute, was in navy blue, and that was Malabrigo, which it's not called navy blue, but this was so long ago I don't even know the colors. And a hot pink. That doesn't sound like me. Navy blue and hot pink. This is where my mother would say everything is the same color. Another Malabrigo. I think this is, I'm almost positive this is Anniversario. And then this is, I can't remember. It's definitely Malabrigo. I have that. And then I threw a skein of gray in there because I thought that would look really cool all together. So I'm going to do those mitts in the multicolors. And I think it'll look nice. They are fingering weight, and they're just the mitts, so they're knit on 1s and 2s, which are teeny tiny little needles, and I'm going to magic loop it because I don't even think I have 1s or 2s in DPNs, and I don't want to do them in double pointed needles anyway. So here you go. We're going to magic loop it, and I'll let you know how that turns out. So that is what I'm going to be working on over the next few days. Oh, and I have them in one of my Pleister bags. This one came with my backpack, and I have a bunch of my little pins on there, which they have to find a better way to do this, I've decided. These pins all need to have like the regular pin back with like a straight needle so they don't fall off. I'm so nervous all the time that they're going to fall off. So that's that. I did want to show you my Find Your Fade since we were talking about it. I can't imagine that you don't know the Find Your Fade pattern, but it's an Andrea Mowry pattern, and she's had to have made quite a bit of money off of this one because there are so many people who have made this and multiple patterns, multiple shawls. It's insane. This was one of the first things, like when I saw this, I said, oh my gosh, I have to knit it. This will forever remind me of Washington, D.C. because for the 6 hours in the car, I knit like a whole section of this. So I always think of Washington, D.C. when I think of my Find Your Fade. So there's my pink. And it goes into this is Anniversario. I wish I had done more of that. This is a color that I wasn't thrilled with, but it ended up coming in really nice. That's also a Malabrigo color. This is that tiny little ball I just showed you. And there's my navy blue. Actually, I think I'm showing it to you upside down, not that it matters that much. But I'm not a big fan of using fingering weight yarn because everything just takes really, really long. And when I learned how to knit, it was always in a worsted or a bulky, so I got really used to that. So I try not to do anything smaller than a DK. However, if it's a smaller project, I will do a fingering weight, but this I had to make an exception for, and I know that I like to wear shawls in the summertime, and these are so much lighter weight, and it just feels so good and squishy and light. So I'm sure I would like to do a what the fade, and I know that that's a gigantic shawl, and I may do that in her original Find Your Fade colors, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to use the leftovers to this shawl to make those mitts just because I need something to hold me over for now, because Yarn Bestie and myself are going to be making the Felix pullover, but she is just finishing her swan show. And when she finishes her swan show, she is going to come on the podcast. We're going to forget about social distancing, and she is going to show you what she made. But we are waiting to make the Felix pullover, which is made by Savory Knitting. And we got our yarn. I will insert a picture here of what our 2 yarn colors actually look like. And I kept the bag because I love how this came. I thought the presentation was really good. So it comes in a box, And inside of the box, and my kids have jumped on this bag probably 10 times because it's next to my chair. In the box is this cute bag. I don't know why this is so cute to me. We got the We Are Knitters yarn, which we have not used before, but we're sort of on a mission to try a bunch of different yarn. And it was taped shut with the We Are Knitters tape. And then it's sealed shut. I just loved this. Sorry about the noise. And since I seem to be on a yellow kick, I guess I stayed with that. So we got the petite wool. And that's what I'm going to do my Felix pullover in. Hopefully it's only going to require 5 skeins. That's what the pattern said. So hopefully I will find gauge and we'll stick with that. I really do love yellow. I find it to be such a versatile color. And we're going to be going to Italy hopefully next year. And I'm trying to make things that will somewhat match because we will be there when it'll be somewhat cooler. So I want to be able to take things with me that will be intermixable. So there's that. And I love it. I'm really excited about that, and I can't wait to get started. It'll be nice to do something chunky after doing something that's on a number 2 needle. And Rhonda got the prettiest, brightest, most, like you could see her a mile away, hot pink. And she said she didn't want something dull and boring. She wanted something that stood out. And so I'm like, how about that pink? And when it came, it was the funniest thing. We're like, whoa, that is pink. But we were like, whoa, in a good way because it was awesome. So I told her this has to be her Rhinebeck sweater because people are going to stop her in her tracks and be like, I love that yarn. Where did you get it? Because it's hot pink and it's awesome. So she will again come on the podcast to show you when she is done with that. On to new things, I really needed some new stitch markers, and I'm sort of particular about my stitch markers. I don't love ones that dangle. I like to have the ones that dangle, but I don't tend to use them a lot, and I buy those for myself too. It's funny because I prefer these, but I went ahead and I ordered the CocoKnits because I had a few and I just wanted more. This is the Flight of stitch markers, and again, presentation so cute. Comes in this little box. And there are all the different sizes and types of styles. And then you can take it out. And it's just this little container, little tube. And inside the tube are a whole bunch of metal stitch markers. So I love that. I think that was such a clever way to do it. And they did it like a flight of stitch markers, just like a flight of wine. So I thought that was super, super cute. So they're all like that. They're multicolored inside, and you can feel that they have some weight to them. They're metal, a little bit heavier. So really, really excited about the stitch markers. I've already been using them. It was really nice to use them with this pattern because I could color coordinate them and keep the pattern and make sure I didn't mess up. So these were really, really helpful. I highly recommend them. The last thing I wanted to show you was Yarn Bestie's brother. He makes these balms, and I'm assuming that's supposed to be better, BTTR Balm. This smells amazing. She gifted this to me, and I was like, oh, it smells so good. So it's like a balm. This one is peppermint eucalyptus, and it smells so fresh and so clean. And my regular chapstick that I use all the time, which I can't find at the moment, is this, so it kind of makes me laugh because it's that same shape, and I love it because I rub this on my hands and on my lips, and I have been doing the same with this. It's the same type of thing. Just, oh, it smells so good. I highly recommend it, and I'm going to link the website below. I don't believe that he is shipping right now during the pandemic, but hopefully that will be ending soon because things are starting to open back up in the state of New York. So hopefully that will be coming to an end soon. Now on to today's knit outfit. In this outfit, I'm wearing my Radiate sweater. I showed that to you in my last podcast, and it is made in spun right round flamingo on the top and Miss Babs, I don't know, a black color, blackbird maybe, on the bottom. It's super comfortable. It's a Joji Locatelli sweater, and I love it. And I thought it was brioche on top when I got the pattern, and at the time, I don't think I was brioching. Maybe I was. It doesn't matter. It's not brioche at the top. It's a fast knit, It's a really cute sweater. It's a nice layering sweater if you're like me and you need to put a sweater over a sweater. And I'm just wearing it with my black skinny jeans and my hunter boot shorties. I am a big hunter boot person. I have 2 pairs of the tall, and I just for Christmas got the shorties. I highly, highly recommend the shorties. I wore them the whole winter, and I just wore them with a thicker pair of socks inside. They're really great. So if you are somebody who doesn't mind spending a little bit of money on shoes because, like me, I'm on my feet all day long, those are great shoes. They're comfortable. They are slightly heavy because they're all all rubber, and they are super comfortable. So those might be another pair of shoes that I take with us when we go to Italy, since it will be a little bit cooler out, but not freezing, so we won't need actual boots. The last thing I wanted to talk about was Christmas knitting. I've been starting to think about Christmas knitting. I know a lot of people wait to do their knit miss stuff in December or right after Thanksgiving or in the month of November and December. I don't like to wait until the very end because I start to panic and I feel like I'm not going to get things done and I get really nervous. So I like to start really, really early. I have 5 best friends and I knit them something last year and I would like to knit them something this year. So I've been looking for something. I've been asking them as well, maybe something they would like. So I've just been looking at things, but I don't knit for everybody. I did knit something for my husband and my boys and my father-in-law and my mother-in-law this year, and then my best friends, but I don't think I'm going to do that again this year. It's fine. I totally could, but it was just kind of like a lot of knitting for everybody, and you have to be knit worthy to get things, and this is not a new term to knitters, but when you're spending all that time and money and energy into making something for somebody, you really hope that somebody's going to wear that item and respect that item and enjoy it and love it because you knit so much love into it. So I very carefully pick who I'm going to knit for and what I'm going to knit them. So that's what I've been looking at lately. And I will be sharing those things as I go. I will probably knit the girls all the same thing just because that's what I did last year, and I don't want one person to love something that somebody else gets more, and I think it gets confusing. So I'm sure I'll stick with something neckwear, headwear, hands, something along those lines. They did say they would like some type of slipper, so we'll see. I'll have to find something. And that's it. That will conclude my podcast for today. Thank you so much for coming to visit. And I hope you stop by again. Please subscribe so that you get alerts when I have a new podcast out. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask below. Have a great day.